And welcome back to Hannity. As the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston continue to recover after last week's tragic shooting, the outpouring of love and the outpouring of support from across the country has been a source of healing for the families of the victims. Alana Simmons, granddaughter of Reverend Daniel Simmons, who was killed in the attack, talked about coping with this tragedy in an emotional interview yesterday. Take a look.
We just want to focus on our grandfather and the other victims and making sure that the communities and the families heal. Charleston has been a great example to the rest of the country as well. We just really, really appreciate how everyone has come together, and like people of all races, all religions, genders, orientations. At the prayer vigil we went to Friday night, everyone was there, and it was just so overwhelming and just so wonderful to see everyone coming together, not to bash or to talk about the suspect, but to celebrate the lives and to heal together.
Joining me now are members of Reverend Daniel Simmons' family, granddaughter Alana Simmons and his widow, Annie Simmons. Welcome to the both of you. As I look at that picture of you and your family, I see a beautiful, loving family. No one can imagine the tragedy, but you're strong, and your statements, Alana, just unbelievable. First to you, Alana, how are you doing now, and how do you feel?
I'm doing remarkably well. Actually, I've had a lot of support from the community, from family, from friends, and I would like to say myself and my entire family, we're doing remarkably well, thanks to everyone's outpour of love.
I can't imagine losing a husband, losing your mate. When you look at the community around you, what do you hear? What do you feel? How does their support come through to you?
For the past few days since this incident happened, it has been an outpouring support from the community, the church community, the corporate world community, and many friends. And I really feel very strong, very grateful, and I'm thankful. And I'd like to say at this time, I send a heartfelt thanks to everyone for their great support and outpouring of love.
When the two of you and your family members are together, and again, you know, not being there, the country looks, but they see the images, how do you take the discussion beyond what just happened? What else do you talk about?
Well, we talk. We pray. Before we discuss anything, we have family prayer. My grandfather was big on that. Whenever we went anywhere, before we went anywhere, before we ate, before we did anything as a unit, we always had a prayer. And before we started with interviews and speaking to the nation about our grandfather, we had a prayer and a discussion, open floor, and we just decided, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to honor our grandfather as he would have had it if we were here, if he were still here. And we're going to talk about the things that he loved. We're going to talk about loving each other. We're going to talk about making sure that we, as well as the other victims, heal from this tragedy.
Mrs. Simmons, when you interact with the younger members of your family, maybe those that don't understand quite as well as a parent or as a grandparent, how do you speak with them?
As my granddaughter mentioned, prayer was a part of our family. Before we begin our day in the morning, we pray. This is where we gain our strength from, because we look to the Lord. When I communicate with the grandchildren, it's always love. We do things together, we enjoy each other, and we have a great time.
And to piggyback on that, my mother came up with this quote. She got it from my uncle.
Yes.
And it said that when we were talking about how, you know, could God allow something like this to happen in his own house, she said that she heard this quote somewhere that said, God allows what he hates to accomplish what he loves. And that's we've seen that here in Charleston. To be honest, on my way here, we were nervous. We didn't know what the city was going to be like when we got here, considering the circumstances of what had just occurred. But when we got here, it was just an overwhelming, calming peace. And we just can't say how much we appreciate the love and the support from everyone.
Well, I can say this, that you two actually helped lift my spirits. Hearing you talk, seeing the love between your families. You're so well-spoken, Alana. You've got a bright future ahead of you. And Annie, just amazing. This shows family, how it works great as a unit. You're both a great example. Thank you.
Thank you.
And joining me with reaction, Fox and Friends co-host Ainsley Earhart. Ainsley, I mean, really, when the picture that I saw of them, you know, body language, you kind of look at it and you see a family that's supporting each other, kind of leaning on each other, close together. A very well-spoken young lady, well-spoken parent.
Imagine that times 9. That's how every family member was. Everyone that we talked to that goes to that church, it was remarkable how these victims handled the situation. You heard them all speaking in the courtroom, which is very rare for a judge to even allow that. So the family members that we were talking with and their friends were saying they were so grateful that the judge allowed that, because it was a chance for them to share their faith, just like the Simmons family just did, to tell the rest of the world that their loved ones did not die in vain. There is a purpose in this, and they feel like God is doing this. They don't understand necessarily. They're definitely going to miss their loved ones, but they trust him enough to know there is good that is going to come out of this evil.
Well, you're from the Palmetto State. I've got relatives down there and friends that I've known for many years, and it's something about that community. I've been to Charleston. This is one of the world's top tourist destinations. That's Condé Nast. That's how they rate them. But it's also got a very communal feel to it. Being a native, being a local, what was it like for you?
First of all, you understand why people want to visit Charleston. You understand why so many people are moving there, and the real estate market is booming in Charleston. Because not only is the cost of living better than it is in the Northeast, the community,
the quality of living,
the quality of people, it's amazing. Everyone goes to church on Sunday mornings. And I'm not being preachy and you have to be in church, but we all grew up like that, with a value system to love one another, to look at everyone as God's child. And yes, there is racism in this world, but we were taught not to focus on that, but to change the next generation. And that's what I'm getting from Alana. I mean, I'm learning
There's
so much.
There's a next generation coming from that young lady.
Exactly. And what she said tonight, many people will ask that don't have faith. Why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? And exactly what they said. I wrote it down so I can put this in my notes, because I'm going to share this with people when they ask me that question. God allows what he hates sometimes to accomplish what he loves. And I think that's the message that Charlestonians are feeling throughout this. I was so proud to be from South Carolina because of the way they handled the situation.
Ainsley Earhart, Fox and Friends co-host.